All right. Well, let's get started here. I think we've got everything set up and I've got everything I have access to. I'm still drinking my coffee this morning, so bear with me on that. My name is Scott Knutson. I'm with Signature Home Inspection. We are located in Santa Ana, California. So we do cover Orange County, parts of LA County, San Bernardino, Riverside. We do have clients that ask us to go into San Diego County. We don't go too far, but we will cover the North County most of the time. A little bit about our company. We've been in business for just over 21 years. Started the business in another state, relocated it here about 10 years ago because we were in a state that got snow and did not like having 4 months out of the year in snow. So my parents lived down here. They lived near Temecula, so we wanted to be a little bit closer to them. So here we are. With that, our company, we can do home inspections, commercial inspections. We can do sewer scopes, mold and air quality testing, pool inspections. We have different types of environmental testing that we can do, like radon, methamphetamine testing. Pretty much any type of testing that you need done or inspections, we can either do them or help find somebody that can do them. As far as experience, again, we've been doing this for 21 years. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I did put my information in chat, as well as provided a link to where you can sign up to our newsletter, as well as get information from us on a regular basis regarding webinars and trainings and so forth that we do. With that, this class that we teach today is going to be called Safety First. Some of this stuff is probably something that you probably learned early on in your education, probably junior high or middle school or high school. But it's a good time to cover some of this stuff as well, because we can take this into the real estate industry as well. So with that, course objectives in this class, hopefully we'll teach you about the most common safety features in modern homes. This is changing all the time. I really do need to spend some time to get this updated because there are some new stuff out there, but we're still going to go over what's currently in the presentation. Which safety features are available, how they operate, and emergency plans. So with that, let's get started. So home safety. So first ones we're going to go over smoke alarms. We're going to go over CO monitors. Now, a lot of people call them smoke detectors. That's not the correct word to call them. They are actually called smoke alarms, kind of a pet peeve amongst home inspectors. We see home inspectors sometimes on these Facebook forums call them smoke detectors, and some of us just kind of like, oh, that's not what it is. Make sure you're using the proper terminology, smoke alarms. Also going to cover fire extinguishers. We're going to go over some natural gas safety, electrical safety, and then also emergency plans. So with that, there's different types of smoke alarms out there, and you should probably have a little bit of knowledge on what type they are. It seems like most of the ones today are going to be a combination of both, but there's the first one that we're going to go over is going to be ionization smoke alarm. It's generally more responsive to flaming fires or heat. Photoelectric smoke alarm is generally more responsive to fires that begin with a long period of smoldering, called smoldering fires. So this one is, let's see, I don't think this is a Kitty, but Kitty does make these, but we do see these. We do see both of them, but this is the one that we're typically seeing the most of. Oops, I went too fast. Is a dual ionization photoelectric smoke alarm. So this was the one that we see most common in homes today. All right, so with smoke alarms, why do we need them? A properly installed and maintained smoke alarm is the only thing in your home that can alert you and your family to a fire 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether you're awake or asleep. A working smoke alarm is constantly on alert, scanning the air for fire and smoke. So they do have newer ones now that, yeah, I wouldn't even say they're new anymore. They've been out for a while, at least 5 or 6 years, because I've got them in my house. The Nest Protect, which has the combination of smoke and CO detector, and they also are connected into my security system. So if there is ever anything that goes off in my house, it will send me a message and notify me on my phone. For example, I was had to step away for an hour to do some errands while I was having a plumber put in a new water heater. And while he was soldering the discharge line, it did set off the alarm, and it notified me which level and where it was at and so forth. So they do work. I like them too because they do test once a month and give you a report that they tested and everything works on them as well. And then I think I don't have them connected into, I have the capability to connect them into my Ring alarm system, but I don't have them set up because I don't really want false alarms being notified to the alarm company. But I could connect those into my Ring alarm system to where if they did go off, it would notify the fire department and so forth. So, but yeah, those options are out there. What I did was, and this is just kind of when I bought my home, and you can approach this in different ways, but if your homeowners want these type of systems, say for when we're doing home inspections, we see a lot of times with the smoke detectors, smoke alarms are often outdated, need to be replaced or missing. And usually if you ask the seller to install those, they're just going to find the cheapest ones they can. So what I did was I knew that I kind of wanted to do the updated ones, and so instead of asking for the seller to do those, I asked for a credit. We asked for a $500 credit. They gave it to us, and we put the ones in that we wanted. So and we still had some money left over because I think the ones I put in at the time were $100 each. I needed 3 of them, for one for each floor. I didn't have to put them in each bedroom because I actually live in a loft. Yeah, so those are some options that you can do if you want to, decide which ones that you want as far as the smoke alarms go. According to the National Fire Protection Association, almost 2/3 of home fire deaths resulted from fires in properties without working smoke alarms. A working smoke alarm significantly increases your chances of surviving a deadly home fire. All right. Where to place them? This is a common question that we get from clients and real estate agents. I've always been told that you are to follow manufacturer's recommendations as far as where to place them in the house, or as far as location. But in California, they are typically required in each bedroom. You need one in the outside the bedroom. So if you have a cluster of bedrooms here, you would need one in each bedroom, and then in the hallway. And it's always good to have one, in the lounge, in the main living area. And then ideally you should have one on each floor. So if you've got, this is a 2-story house, you would just duplicate this. So I know that seems like a lot, but that's the requirement. You should have one in each bedroom, one in the hallway outside the bedrooms, and then in the lounge dining area. I wouldn't necessarily put one too close to the kitchen because you just don't want to falsely set it off. This is not where you should place a smoke detector. So, or smoke alarm. Sorry. See, I keep saying detector when I tell people not to say it. With that, this is kind of an interesting story. What a lot of people do is once they start the alarm goes off that the battery's dying, instead of just replacing the battery or replacing the smoke detector, they just either remove it or they take the battery out and then they just don't ever replace it. I can't tell you how many times I've gone into a property where the smoke detector most likely had gone off, the smoke alarm had gone off, and they just instead of replacing it or replacing the battery, they just took it off the wall or off the ceiling. We had an instance once when we first moved to California. We had moved into a new place and we were in Aliso Viejo at the time. And of course it never fails. It goes off at 2 a.m. I went around, I didn't have the 9-volt batteries. Why? This is the only item that requires 9-volt anymore, it seems like. Why can't it take AAA or AA? But it takes a 9-volt battery. We didn't have one. Ended up going down to Walmart because at the time it was open 24 hours. Grabbed, several 9-volt batteries, replaced all the ones because I couldn't find which one it was. I was in no mood to, search. So as soon as I climbed into bed, what happens? Beep goes off. At that point, I've got this strange look on my face. Ended up finding out that it was the CO monitor that was still in a box. And that one was what was going off. It wasn't the other ones. It was the one that was going in the box. And I swear I was about ready to throw it out the window at that point. So actually, I think I did. I think because I ran out of batteries, I actually did go down and put it in the garage till the morning because I was just done with it. So anyway, every time this picture comes up, that kind of reminds me of that story and my self-experience with it. Smoke alarm. So when do you need to change the batteries? Well, with the time change, unless you live in Arizona, I don't know if there's any other states that don't change the time. I think it's just Arizona. So anyway, that's a good rule of thumb. Whenever you change the time, some people will do it at New Year's. I think that's not enough. I think ideally you should change them twice a year. When do you change smoke alarm? Manufacturers suggest every 10 years. So the new ones today typically will have a 10-year battery with it. So you don't have to change the batteries as much, and they are usually hardwired into houses too. So with that, good rule of thumb is if you go into a house and you see the smoke alarms and they look older than 10 years old, it's typically time to replace them. So especially if they're turned yellow, sometimes that plastic will age over time. I know that in my house, I had a doorbell cover that even though my house is, when was it built? 15 years ago, maybe. It already started to turn yellow. So I actually, when I had my house repainted inside, I had them, paint that cover so it actually matched and not this big ugly yellow thing sticking out. So don't recommend that on smoke alarms, but that's kind of the example that I'm kind of explaining to you, is that if they look older than 10 years, as a home inspector, we're going to make that note. We're going to say, hey, these appear to be over 10 years old. They recommend that they need to be changed out, at least changed out, or at least evaluated to see if they, how old they are for sure. Also with the new laws, so this, and what I was explaining to you about where they should be located, if you wanted to look up the law, it was effective January 1st, 2014. It was Senate Bill number 745, chapter 183, that says smoke alarms that have a 10-year lifespan, power source, or non-removable, non-replaceable battery that lasts for 10 years. So it's kind of like the garage door openers. What happens is that when they make that change, for typically whenever a law, people always say, California, but because we have such a large population, I think it's close to 40 million. Whenever California makes a change, it usually affects the rest of the country because they don't want to have to, change it just for our state. So then they end up changing it for the whole country. So for example, a few years ago when there was that fire up in Paradise where the garage door openers would not open because the power to the whole town got cut out. And there was some unfortunate casualties where people couldn't get their garage door open because the power wasn't there. The doors were too heavy, some of them. And so now, once they pass that law that all garage door openers have to have backup batteries, moving forward, not all, they grandfather the old ones in, but anytime you put in a new garage door opener, it's got to have a backup battery. So what happens? Garage door companies are like, well, we don't want to make them just for California. We'll just make them, that way going forward. So same with cars. I think there was a bill that just passed maybe yesterday, a couple of days ago, about the red dye in people's food. And they're going to make the, change in a couple of years. Well, that gives the food companies time to change, well, I don't think they really have to change much because they're already doing it in Europe. But they're not going to do it just for California. They'll probably do it for the rest of the country as well, because why would they want to do something for just, it's a big population, but still, it's probably a lot harder for them to do it. It's easier for them to change it for everybody versus just do it for one state, like cars. All right. If you want to know where this information was taken from, you can go to National Fire Protection Agency. That's nfpa.org, or you can go to U.S. Fire Administration, usfa.fema.gov. And I'm going to check the chat and the Q&A from time to time if you guys have any questions. But I will give you my contact information again at the end if you guys need that. Carbon monoxide monitors. What is a CO? So US CPSC, Consumer Product Safety Commission. Carbon monoxide is a deadly, odorless, colorless, poisonous gas. It is produced by the incomplete burning of various fuels, including coal, wood, charcoal, oil, kerosene, propane, and natural gas. And as you can see, I've got two spaces after that period. So I am the guy that learned how to type on a typewriter. So I need to get that fixed. I don't do it anymore. But you can see that right there. Products and equipment powered by internal combustion engines, such as portable generators, cars, lawnmowers, and power washers also produce CO. So how do they work? So basically, when they detect that, they will set off an alarm. It's just kind of really similar to a smoke alarm. I know that there are some home inspectors that actually have CO monitors attached to their belts, because when they've been in homes for an extended amount of time, I mean, sometimes we can be there 2 to 4 hours doing an inspection. And there have been instances where home inspectors have been in a house that had carbon monoxide poisoning, and they became sick, and yeah, it was an issue. So I haven't come to that level of protection yet. It makes sense, but from what I've heard is some of the product that's out there isn't too reliable as far as the ones that go onto our belts. So I haven't gone that route yet. Maybe they will have something come out later on. But anyway, that kind of gives you an idea of the dangers of carbon monoxide. Even home inspectors are aware of it when they're going into houses that they haven't been familiar with. Also make sure to read specific manufacturer's recommendations. I know this is a very common question that we get, is where do we install these? It depends. My recommendation is, depending on the type of carbon monoxide alarm, is to read the manufacturer recommendations, because some of them are going to be the plug-in type. Some of them are going to be the ones that you attach 5 feet above the floor on the wall. Some will be on the ceiling. So it really depends. So if you are one of those agents that buys them to make sure that they're installed before the appraiser gets there, because I know appraisers, if they don't see them, they won't, I don't know. I haven't heard it lately, but heard that they will have to come back, and they charge money to come back. I think it's like $150 if they have to come back. That's what I've heard. With that, if you are the one that, gets those, and you're frantically, trying to get them installed before the appraiser gets there, then, that's where you'd want to go. You'd want to read the package, find out where they recommend it, and then go from there. Let's see. This is going to kind of go over concentration time exposure. And I'm going to tell you of a recent story that just happened recently in my group of friends, I could say, to let you know how dangerous carbon monoxide actually is. So, and I know everybody's probably seen the news. It usually happens around when the weather starts to get colder, where you see on the news where people barely escape their house from, carbon monoxide from, the furnace or what have you in the house. But we had one just recently hit close to home. And I'll tell you that story here in a second. But I'm going to go over the concentration time exposure parts per million. So 9 parts per million, EPA residential standard, not to exceed 9 parts per million in 8 hours. So again, you don't always have to know this, but kind of gives you an idea of the levels that can get into a house and how long it takes before you start to notice the effects. 35 parts per million, EPA residential standard, not to exceed 35 parts per million in 1 hour. 50 is OSHA workplace standard, not to exceed 50 in an 8-hour period. 200, you typically start getting a slight headache, fatigue, dizziness, and nausea after 2 to 3 hours. 400, frontal headaches within 1 to 2 hours, life-threatening after 3 hours. 800, dizziness, nauseous, convulsions within 45 minutes, unconsciousness in 2 hours, death within 2 to 3 hours. And if it's at 1600 ppm, headache, dizziness, nauseous within 20 minutes, death within 1 hour. So what does CO do to the human body? So it basically, it keeps the oxygen attacks the red blood cells. So why do we need them? Again, we've got a lot of potential sources of carbon monoxide in the home, anywhere from, somebody having a chimney, furnace, attached garage, fireplace, water heater, indoor grilling, portable heater, clothes dryer, range hood. There's a lot of different ones. So again, where do we put them? Like I said, I think in California, you're required to have one on each floor. More the merrier, in my opinion. But you have to have it each floor. So give you an example. If you're in a 3-story house, and I know sometimes we see these townhomes where it's a 3-story townhome, and when you first enter, you go basically into it's not a very big area. It usually just has a coat closet, and then you go upstairs, and then you go into the garage. Well, does that need one? Yes, you have to have one on that floor. Then on the second floor and the third floor. So usually people will put them kind of in the hallways outside the bedrooms. But here in this picture, you can see here where they've got these smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms in different areas of the house. So, but the rule of thumb is typically one per floor. Let's see. Does CO come out of the ground naturally? Good answer, or good question. I don't know the answer to that one. I don't think so. I think that's more or less, you're probably thinking of radon. Again, it's got to be something combustible. So if there's something that's underneath the house that's combustible, but not naturally, I think you're thinking of radon. All right, let me get back into this. Oops, try to close this here. If CO poisoning is suspected, open windows and doors for fresh air, leave the house and call 911. So back to my story. So this just happened approximately about a month ago, and I'll give you a kind of lead up to it. When I first bought a hybrid car, this was back in 2013, I think. It was like the second generation of the Prius. Great car, by the way. I don't own it anymore. I sold it to a friend. It is still running. And has had no issues other than the typical change out the tires. And I think he said he had a wheel bearing that had to be replaced. But other than that, I think he's got 290,000 miles on it now. So loves the car. I keep asking him when he's going to get a new one. He says, why? This one's doing just fine. So anyway, with that, when I first pulled it into my garage, and this kind of goes back to firewalls in garages, why home inspectors call that out, why we are so sensitive to fire doors that go from the garage into the house, why we want them to be fire rated, why we want the weather stripping to be proper, why if there's any holes in the firewall that we call that stuff out. The first time I pulled it into my garage, I wasn't really familiar with the car. So I got into the garage. I think I had to go inside and do something on the computer and have lunch really quick. And then I was going to my next job. After all that was done, it's probably about 2 hours later, I came out to the garage and my car was running. And if you know how the Priuses work or the hybrids work, is a lot of times you don't hear that motor running, but it does come on from time to time to power, the electric on it. And I was like, whoa, that's not good. So luckily my fire door and everything was in place. I don't think I had actually closed the garage vehicle door, so that wasn't an issue, but it really alerted me to, hey, I need to pay attention to this. On the other end, I've been driving electric for a while now and went to a football game in Salt Lake City a few weeks ago. Was driving a car that I wasn't really familiar with driving with. I got out of the car to go into 7-Eleven, and what did I do? The car was still on. I didn't turn it off because I wasn't used to that, because usually with electric car, you put it in park and you head in, and I had a Tesla to where the door automatically locks when my phone leaves and so forth. So sometimes you're just not really familiar with cars. But with this carbon monoxide issue, I had a high school friend where his parents had passed away, and there was a lot of rumors going around that, well, maybe they committed suicide, blah blah blah, because all we got information was that it happened in their garage. And well, people think, well, maybe they took their lives together, blah blah blah. First thing I was thinking was that as soon as they said that they had carbon monoxide in their bedroom, first thing I thought was, well, maybe they got a new car, maybe it was a hybrid. Wasn't confirmed, but from my past experience with that's what I thought it might have been. and that may be the firewall, because my one of my best friends lived right next to him growing up, and he knew the outlook, you know, the mapping of their house, and knew where their bedroom was, and it was right above the garage. So a couple of things probably happened was that one, well, they did confirm they had a brand new car, it was a brand new hybrid car, and they probably weren't really familiar with it yet. And two, probably didn't have a proper firewall in place. And three, the carbon monoxides were either not in place, or they didn't have them, or they didn't go off. So if they had, you know, that carbon monoxide, it probably would have saved their life. So, but that's, you know, whenever I'm explaining firewalls and carbon monoxide, importance of this stuff, you know, I'm going to start to use that story because, you know, that's how critical it is. So, let's see here. All right. Fire extinguishers. Let's get into this one. Every time I see this fire extinguisher, I think about my rebellion days in school, where I grabbed one of these and had never really ever used one before. And I just thought it was going to be funny that I was going to spray my classmates, and boy, did I get in trouble for that one. So every time I see this picture, I think of that. So yeah, learned my lesson on that one. Didn't hurt anybody, but sure thought it was funny at the time. With that, fire extinguishers, let's go through this. There's different types of fire extinguishers, but here's the overall makeup of fire extinguisher. One, you've got the safety pin, you've got the nozzle, you've got the pressure gauge, you've got the levers, high pressure gas canister, and then the dry chemical, carbon dioxide, or the water. So there's different types of fire extinguishers. You've got a dry chemical, which is this one right here. This is the most common one. Types of fires are going to be normal combustibles, B, burning liquids, C, or charged electrical. You're going to have a CO2, carbon dioxide. Types of fires for this one is going to be normal combustibles. It's not as efficient as a dry chemical, burning liquids, and then also charged electrical. And then here's the old style. This is a pressurized water. These are the ones that they can sometimes carry on fire apparatuses. And then you also have halon and then wet chemical. We don't see these as often, but wet chemical, you typically see these in restaurant businesses. And then halon, not typically seen outside of large businesses with expensive electronic equipment. So if I go in and do a commercial inspection and I see the server room where it gets warm in there and there's a lot of electrical equipment, servers, and so forth, we typically will see this type of extinguisher in there. How to use them if you've never used one, basically use the pass method. So basically you pull the pin, aim the nozzle, squeeze, and then sweep side to side. Natural gas safety. This is something that everybody should know where that's at. So when we're doing home inspections, we will show the client where the shutoffs are. If they're not able to make the inspection, we also put it on our reports, and we actually take a picture of where they're located and show them where it's at on the report. So where's your gas located? So typically it's going to be on the side of the house or in the front of the house here in Southern California. On older homes, we typically will see them out near the street, kind of like you would a water meter. So it really depends, but most of the homes today are going to be on the side of the house, outside of the house. How do you turn it off? This is a question that most people don't, or they ask us quite a bit. How do we turn that off? So basically, you either need a gas meter wrench, which sometimes you can have one and chain it actually to the gas meter, or have a crescent wrench in your junk drawer somewhere nearby. And basically, you just turn the valve. You can turn it with these. You can either turn it left or right. It doesn't matter. It's not one of those righty-tighty, lefty-loosey type things. It'll go either way. But this is the on position when it's side to side here, or horizontal here. That's going to be in the on position. So, and if the gas is not on, it's not the home inspector's responsibility to turn the gas on. So we don't take on that liability at our company because we don't want this to happen. So It doesn't mean that we don't know how to turn it on. It's just that usually when gas is off, it's off for a reason. It's either the gas company had turned it off because they determined that there was something in the property that was unsafe, or there was, the gas bill hadn't been paid for whatever reasons. But we do not turn gas on. We don't turn water on. We don't, we're not utility companies. So if the stuff is off, we provide emails, reminders that say, hey, is the gas on? Is the water on? Is electrical on? Is all this stuff on prior to the inspection? And I know sometimes it happens where the listing agent or the homeowner says, yes, it's on. And then the next day, the day before we come out, the power company comes out and turns it off. I know that sometimes happens. Unfortunately, it does take us time to go back out. So most companies will charge to have to come back out if they have to come back out. So as realtors or real estate agents, you want to make sure that you verify that all this stuff is on so we can do our full inspection. So again, it only takes one lesson. And I'll give an example on water. There was one time shortly after the financial crisis, whenever the market crashed in 2008, when it was very common for banks to foreclose. The bank owned properties, they would shut everything off, and then they would winterize the house. Then they would say, well, can you turn the water on? Well, I did it one time, and the one time I did it, and this is back to you guys as well. If it's off, it's usually off for a reason. So turning that water on, you just have to realize that you're taking liability for that. And what happened is I turned it on and I go into the house and everything's leaking everywhere. They didn't properly winterize the house. This is when I was up in, a state where it was colder. And the pipes had froze, and then they defrosted, and water was going everywhere. And ever since then, I'm like, nope, I am not turning this stuff on anymore. We just won't do it. So if the stuff is off, make sure that it's on. If you have a home inspector that does turn stuff on, great for them, but I would hate to be them if anything goes wrong. So natural gas safety, what is it used for? Again, we've got so many appliances here in Southern California that are ran off of gas. You've got your furnaces, you've got your ranges, you've got water heaters, you've got grilling equipment, stuff like that. So again, you want to make sure that's safe. So with that, if you guys have any questions about appliance safety or natural gas smell, call 911 and SoCal Gas at 800-427-2200. Just be aware that natural gas doesn't have a natural smell, so they add a chemical to it to make it smell like it does. So you are able to detect it if you need to. So there's been times where I've gone into rooms that have been closed off like a laundry room. It's just a really strong smell. As inspectors, we will try our best to notify the agent that's there, and we will also try to call the listing agent to let them notify the homeowner. And if it's a significant smell, we'll typically turn off that gas to that area until they can get the gas company to come out. So gas company is pretty quick to come out when you call and say, hey, I think we've got a gas leak here. They send out somebody pretty quickly. So I think they have a team that just does that. Now, if you send them out, if you say, hey, I think I got a gas leak, and you're just trying to get them to come out and fix something, probably not a good idea to do that. They're not going to be real happy with that, and they'll probably charge you a service fee for that. So electrical safety, also want to know where the emergency shutoffs are. So in California, down here, most of the new homes, you're going to have everything on the outside, which some people from other states would think that's, why would you do that? Well, we're in California. The weather's not too extreme here. So sometimes you'll see the main shutoff on the outside, and you'll see the sub panels on the inside. So sub panels are going to be where you can shut off the individual rooms, and then the main panel is where the meter typically is and where there's a main shutoff. So if you always want to know where that's at in your house. And again, this is something that we will show our clients when we're doing the inspection, as well as take pictures and put it in our report. Electrical safety. So overloading electrical circuits, inspect electrical cords and appliances for damage. Do not tack cords to the wall or run them under rugs. Maintain airspace around electrical equipment, such as TV, VCR, stereo, etc. So again, I need to change this because VCRs have not been around for a while. I think I just had a DVD player that I sent to my parents. They still watch DVDs, but they're an 80, so they have a lot of DVDs that they like to watch. I tried to get my dad to watch Yellowstone because I know that that's kind of a show that he would like, but they didn't have Paramount Plus, and so I waited until Christmas, bought the DVD, the whole 4 or 5 seasons of it, and sent it to him. And for whatever reason, he just thought that that was going to be too long. And so now what? Now it's on CBS. Now he watches it and he doesn't record it. He just knows, he just sits down and watches it when it's, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't watch anything real time anymore because I hate the commercials, but that's what they do. So, but I need to change this. So I'm going to change that as soon as we get off this call. Electrical safety. So install additional outlets by a qualified electrician to avoid using cube traps and extension cords. So perfect example is the movie. What movie was that? Christmas Story. When no, was it Christmas Story or Christmas Vacation? I think it was both of them. I think a Christmas Story where she's trying to find an outlet to plug in the grand prize of that leg lamp. That's what we're talking about there. Too many plugs in one outlet. And then on Christmas Vacation, same thing. They couldn't figure out how to why the Christmas lights weren't coming on. And she goes down there, she's checking all the plugs, and there's all these plugs into one outlet. So that's what we're talking about there. If you must use extension cords, use only the kind that have built-in circuit breakers. So most of the ones now, if you're gonna try to use them as a permanent fixture until you can get an electrician in there. For example, we see this in garages quite a bit where they didn't have a long enough cord for the garage door opener to an outlet. So what do? They get an extension cord and they say, okay, done. I'm going to use that for permanent. Well, it's not really meant for permanent use. If you're going to do that until you can get an electrician out there, then use the extension cords that have the built-in circuit breaker. So see that on blow dryers. You see that on some other stuff where they have that little button on it. That's the built-in circuit breaker. If you have any questions, special considerations, call Southern California Edison, 800-611-1911 or sce.com. Next one, again, we're a little bit ahead of time. We don't have too many questions here. If you have emergency plan, so does every house have an emergency plan? I would say most do not. I don't, because I don't have any kids, and I think me and the other my partner girlfriend knows where to get out if we need to. There's really only one way out unless we have to go with a ladder out the window. So with that, here's kind of an example one that you can have a family sit down one night and say, hey, let's draw this fire escape plan so everybody knows where it's at. And it's kind of the same thing where you learn this in school. Everybody, I don't know how many times a year it was done. I would say a couple times a year, maybe even more now with the different, when I grew up, I grew up in the South, different areas of the country, but I grew up in an area where there was tornadoes. And so we always had the fire, we always had the tornado drills. Nowadays they're having, fire, earthquake, and school shootings. So we never had that school shootings when I was growing up. So this is kind of the same thing. So, and I would probably have one drawn up for each kid, so they know, okay, if this is Johnny's bedroom and this is Sally's Sally's bedroom, where do they come out? Where do they go? And then probably a better one would be an alternative route, because maybe the fire is right here. Where do you go from there? Well, if the fire is here, then you're going to go out the front, and then you're always going to have an outside meeting place. So exit routes, like I was saying, just barely no 2 exit routes from all rooms. And then also it'd be wise to have a second story ladder. These may be on sale with the Amazon Prime sale right now. Who knows? Has anybody bought anything? I bought a couple things. So, but yeah, you can buy these and just put them in your closet. And when you need them, they're pretty easy to use. Basically hang it off your window and then detach, and then it folds out and it's a ladder. So you can get down from the second or third floor. Emergency plan, make sure window bars have safety releases. So there are houses that we do that have the safety bars on them. And if they do not have a latch where you can open it from the inside, we will call it out because it's a fire, it's a hazard. And believe it or not, most of the ones that we see installed don't have the safety latch for whatever reason. So if that window is your only escape route and there's not a safety latch on it, you can't get out. Same with some of the doors that we see. Sometimes we'll see doors or we'll see houses where the only thing they have they have a deadbolt, but it requires a key to open from the inside. We will call those out on every house. We'll explain to the client that, hey, this is how they were built. This is okay when it was built, but today they should be a deadbolt with the lock that you can unlock with your thumb and not a key, because if the key's gone, you can't get out. You can't open the door. So when we see those type of locks, we typically will call that out and make them aware of the reasons why and kind of educate them on the reasons why they don't use those anymore and the safety issues and so forth. So emergency plan, practice. There's a reasons why we did that in school. Like I said, at least twice a year we were doing these drills and they were just kind of randomly. Great time when you had a quiz scheduled. So I just remember thinking, all right, we get out of class for 15, 20 minutes. So with that, 911, always know your non-emergency phone numbers. Find out in your cities your own non-emergency phone number. I know the city that I live in, they have their own app now, so I can just go to the app. So if I need to report anything, if I need to, I live in downtown Santa Ana, so they've got a graffiti removal. They've got, if there's somebody parked in an area that they shouldn't be parked in, they got an app for everything now. So I just go to the app, and if I need to report graffiti removal, boom, they're out there quick. So, most of the cities might even have their own app now, so you can have that downloaded on your kids' phones. And then with that, Southern California Edison, again, 800-611-1911. So pretty quick class today. We're a few minutes early, but here's my contact information. Again, if you have any questions about home inspections, or we do teach multiple classes here. So we teach some on home inspections. We teach some on mold. We teach some on this one's safety. So different classes. Feel free to, join those classes whenever we have them. With that, let me see if there's any questions that anybody has. I don't think there's any questions. And like I said, if you want to join our newsletter, we do send out information from time to time with the classes that we're doing, as well as information about home maintenance and so forth. So feel free to sign up for that. I put we put my contact information there as well. So again, my name is Scott Knutson. My email is scott@signaturemore.com. Office phone number is 888-860-2688. And our website is signaturemore.com. So our website has a lot of information on it, has our online scheduler on there, so you can schedule 24/7. You can take a look at what time slots are available, what inspectors are available, what you can schedule pretty much any inspection that we do right online. So, and then we also have a chat bot on there as well. So if you have general questions, you can reach out to us that way. So, all right. Well, thank you, everybody. If you guys have any questions for me, like I said, that's my contact information. Reach out to me. Otherwise, have a good rest of your Wednesday. And yeah, looks like the sun's starting to come out finally. So have a good one. Thanks, everybody.